Hello everybody, and welcome to the LJL OU's coverage of the LJL 2021 Summer Playoffs match between AXIZ and V3 Esports. Master One here as your host, but I'm joined by my co-founders of the LJL and some of the most handsome men in all of esports. But don't let them hear that, because egos. It's Initialize and Nightmare. The Have Good Brother Joe. Gentlemen, welcome!
I think I may just have heard some real truths in that opening statement. He is right, isn't he? That we are just incredibly handsome and also big
Incredibly,
brain as
same.
well. We're on the
In
analyst
fact,
there,
that's
so
the
it
only
should be
thing I
great.
heard in that whole
Yeah,
opening
exactly.
spiel. Apart from the LJL thing, I'm actually quite
That's
interested in that.
something that we're kind of potentially. I don't know.
Well, welcome, gentlemen, to the show, to the broadcast, and we have got two, honestly, pivotal moments. I'm not sure if that's even a word. Samuel, is that a word?
It is now.
Well, it is now.
I'm down for it.
Both of these
Neologism.
teams are fighting for their playoff spot, but let's first talk about how they got here. And Nightmare, the bracket that we've got for both of these teams and how they've got here is rather unique and actually historic in the LJLOU.
It is. There are some precedents that have been set. As if we can have a look over towards the bracket, that'd be awesome, because we can see it's not just an isolation. There is, of course, going to be a team dropping down from the Juggernaut match for one of these two teams to face later on. They both progressed 3-0 from their opening rounds. We're going to have a chat about that, because we feel maybe there was a difference in how hard these teams were pushed by their opponents, but still confident, decisive victories nonetheless, and they will go on to face DFM if they go through each other first. So a lot on the line, and AXIZ have never been this far before, whereas V3 maybe returning to a bit of a former precedent.
Yeah, and I think...
Sorry,
Go for it.
Lex. It's not just that. It's like, okay, these two teams have come into form at playoffs. They've got to fight off against each other, and they've just got this ridiculous gauntlet ahead of them. They've got DFM waiting for them in the equivalent of the semis. They've got Rascal Jesters, who have been on fire from their Juggernaut match, waiting for them in the finals. This is looking like a hell of a mountain to climb, and I cannot wait to see which of these teams looks to try and make that climb.
Absolutely, and I think though when we come back and we look at this graphic and what it means really, that series that AXIZ did face against Crest Gaming Act, this wasn't the CGA we had seen throughout all of the summer split. This was a very different Crest Gaming Act. So let's just talk about that very briefly, because it is worth touching on, and the fact that AXIZ haven't really been pushed.
No, they really haven't. You look at it there, that series was a bit unfortunate for CGA. They had a role swap in mid for of course, Nation moving down to support. They had a substitute coming in there. It kind of left AXIZ to run a bit rampant, and they got a very easy 3-0.
Yeah, and that was a convincing one. Whereas over on the other side for V3 Esports and the Hawks, Nightmare, that was a completely different case of affair.
It was, because not all 3-0s are created equal, and the Hawks did actually take it to the late game 2 out of the 3 times against their opponents in V3 in that first round. I, of course, expected a lot of the Hawks to come out of this lower bracket. I was a little sad to see them not turn up to the full potential that we thought they might do. Of course, they crash out early, but V3 looked so on form, so calm, so collected, ruthless in the early game, and though a couple of games did go late, they did end up sealing out the late game team fights against them at pretty much every turn. I'm very excited to see if they've developed yet again and improved yet again for this series.
Yes, absolutely. But this is a completely difference between these two teams. And while they got here in a very similar 3-0 manner, the actual outcome of this match is going to be rather different, because one very important thing, and something that V3 already overcame when it came to beginners at this game, or rather fresh talent, amateurs, versus that veterancy.
Yeah, the big one, of course, to talk about here is Unica, who's ended up in the jungle for them. It's a bit of an odd one for V3, of course. That's just the way it is. That Mujin's had there's been some stuff going on behind the scenes that's just made some awkward situations in terms of who can play, when they can play. And as a result, Unica's had to step in from their academy roster, who, by all accounts, have been absolutely crushing it. So, like, the talent is there, but bringing in a relatively rookie jungler, yes, a little bit of experience. I think it would have been last season, possibly, actually thinking about it
Yep,
now.
2020 summer.
Had a moment trying to think, was it spring? No, it was summer last year.
It was Yoshi in
But
spring, Unica in summer.
It was a good time.
Thank you. Someone's remembering properly, but the point stands that this guy's come in. He's coming in on late notice. He's done a pretty good job, but now he's getting pushed by another veteran jungler in Hogler, and that could make for a bit of a discrepancy if AXIZ can push the right buttons in game.
And let's
we
actually
can jump
bring
onto
that graphic over. Yeah, absolutely. Nightmare, talk us
Sure.
over
It's-
the matchup between Hogla and Unica.
Yeah, so I think one thing which I'd love to talk about is, of course, that Unica did actually impress me. They impressed us because they did get our series MVP, but we didn't see them on Jinzhou, didn't see them on Lee Sin. We saw them on Diana, that's one thing. Saw them on Trundle. Okay, cool, it's still not the most mechanically proficient champion, even though you can path well. The same kind of goes for the Volibear. I'm wondering if we're going to go see something along those lines again, and actually whether that affects the picks and ban, if you don't have to ban out the super hard, super intensive junglers.
I mean, that's just going to be a very important question for these two teams to really uncover, because they do have rather simpler champion pools, though we haven't seen them as pushed as far as I was expecting. What about yourself, Nightmare? Are you expecting them to maybe be pushed further in this series?
I think that is going to be a recurring feature in a lot of different matchups. You can talk about it in this one. I think actually that's more likely to be a thing in the support matchup, which we can move on to whenever. But for this one, I think that Hoglet has shown just so many different styles and so many different things. We're actually going to go talk about these AD carries now, actually, to see them up on
No, I
screen.
wanted to do something else before this. All right, initialize. Talk us over the AD carries.
We'll talk about this one instead. Production has said which way we're going, and this is what we're talking about, because Honey and Hollow have been very, very important for both of these teams. Honestly, when we're looking at the guys who've been carrying throughout the split, Honey is right at the top of it for whoever you're talking about, and that is pretty much across the world, even not even just for the LJL. The stats this guy's been putting out is absolutely not. Just look at the damage percentage, look at the kill percentage. That's about 700 plus DPM, something like 720 DPM on Honey himself across the split. He's been absolutely phenomenal on particularly the Aphelios, particularly the Jinx. Those hyper carries have looked so good. And then over on the other side, of course, Hollow, another rookie that's come in for V3. They tried to pull a bit like what they did with their AD carry from
Archer.
last year, of course, Archer. Yeah. And Hollow's kind of trying to fill in those boots. Another rookie AD carry, and has done a pretty admirable job. He's not quite been at Honey's insane level, but particularly in the last series we saw of him, was really, really good.
Absolutely, but this was, if you just look at Honey versus Hollow in just the sheer amount of games that they have played, Hollow has 20. Honey has 7 games he's played in a playoff series. That is just night and day difference. But let's head over to the supports, because that starts to get even worse with Reiner with 41 and Nemo on his 4th one coming in, Nightmare.
So we have a bit of a royal showdown here with the Thresh Princes meeting up in this bot lane, Nemo and Reiner. This is the matchup where after round 1, I was thinking, all right, if we're going to have a featured matchup, this is the one that I'm going to bloody talk about, because Nemo and Reiner have absolutely popped off. Reiner was, for me, like the real core, the spirit of that winning V3 roster from summer 2020, so 1 year ago. Reiner was just behind Boogie in our MVP opinions and our rankings and everything else, and they seem to be back on form. But Nemo is right there, up there at the top of the LJL support tree too, alongside the likes of your gang, up the like with Secret too, if they're on form. And looking at this series now, if Nemo suddenly is going to be contested in that support champion pool, did mention that a little bit earlier, I think that this could be a real breaking point for these teams and the pressure they can output.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to come over and talk about something we haven't mentioned yet. And initialize, this is super important. And this is actually my favorite part of V3 Esports. They are our defending world representatives. And while the performance wasn't as stellar as we were hoping, this is a team where 2 of the players, they're hungry. They want that back. And while there are super teams, while there are crazy performances, they're a team that is familiar with doing a run all the way through the lower bracket.
Well, look, as the moment Lexi gets that excited by V3 is consumed by the void. That's the power of his passion. Scary stuff. His eyebrows went green earlier as well, which had me laughing my head off. But to bring it back,
he's just trying to get that old V3.
Exactly.
He was going to do them orange, but then he didn't realize that V3 had the rebrand from green to orange. It's strange times.
But the point stands that V3 is a team of veterans who have been very successful veterans. It's not just people who've been around the scene, it's people who succeeded around the scene as well. Ace and Reiner are the 2 remaining representatives from that roster that did go to Worlds. Reiner really stepping up recently. It's not necessarily been his meta in some ways. Like, some of the champions took him a little while to get onto. Like, you look back to summer last year, and you think about the champions he was absolutely crushing on. Set, Thresh. Set's kind of dropped out of that a little bit. But the Thresh is kind of back, and you saw on those stats, he has been absolutely crushing on it. He's been looking really, really commanding in the games that we've seen from him. Add in then what we would have said with someone like Mugen, who is a bit of a veteran over from Flash Wolves again, who's been honestly pretty good over here as well, definitely towards the top echelon of our junglers. And then Cog, who has been desperately trying to succeed for so long, even last summer on Rascal, just when there was a complete disaster for them
so elo health.
with visa issues, meaning they had like unready subs, not even just substitutes, just like unready people who were like, I'm a Katarina one trick and I've got to play mid lane. Coming in like poor old Pink.
He's in the V3 Academy system now,
Fantastic.
so...
Exactly. They just needed more time, and that problem meant it left Cog to desperately try and carry these guys forwards, and it wasn't quite enough. He's now on a team that can enable him a little bit more. He's now on a team with other people who are largely veterans around him outside of Hollow, looking to try and take this experience and this talent, let's be real, to the next level. And that really comes to shine in playoffs when the pressure is on.
I honestly can't wait to see how these two bot lanes go. The whole map as a total, it's truly insightful. And one point I really want to hit up that Nymera mentioned on and just reiterate it. We've got Reiner who is returning to form. But something we mentioned on the podcast was the fact that, well, Nemo had a series that was very reminiscent of what Reiner later on went and did, and that these two teams well and truly lived through the success of a support player on their roster. And I just want to come over to you, Nymera, because it is this bot lane that I'm mentioning. Is there anything else you want to talk about the duo part? Because you only talked about Nemo versus Reiner. Is there maybe a 2v2 thing?
Well, absolutely. I think there is. At the end of the day, we can talk about all the V3 stories you want, but stories have to start somewhere. This very well could be the start of this, dare I say it, Cinderella story for AXIZ. It happened a year and a half ago when we started this very broadcast with a very different roster. But I think in a 2v2 situation, I mean, I'm looking back to like the last couple of games of the regular split from AXIZ. If they do get onto a non-hyper carry lane with something which is less defensive as a support, you can sometimes upset them. You can sometimes get under their skin. V3 do have the momentum rolling with them right now, although we have seen them similarly not do as awesome in a 2v2 consistently as someone like AXIZ. But this is the big game now. Who are the big game players? V3 have certainly been before. AXIZ have to step up to that plate, where it feels like V3 are waiting for them there.
I must reiterate this, ladies and gentlemen. The loser of this match, out. Gone. Their run towards World is over. However, the victor will get to go and play in that round 3 semi-finals match versus Their Nation Focus Me, with Rascal Jesters waiting for the victor of that one in the finals. Gentlemen, I want to take it topside because we've already started talking about Cog. But we haven't really mentioned about Inno. His, well, I know, there we go. That's the correct pronunciation. I actually recently learned this through the actual LJL interview. Very interesting. If we could bring up that graphic, because I think, honestly, this is one of the most interesting parts, because V3 Esports tend to play a huge amount through their topside.
They do. Or at least they have done historically. Now with Hollow and Reiner coming back to form a little bit, or rather coming into form, maybe is a better way of putting it. Maybe we see a little bit more flexibility there. But we know on the other side that AXIZ absolutely play through bot lane. You've seen what Honey can do when given resources, and boy, do they love to give him resources. But that's generally meant that Ino is left a little bit towards, or left a little bit on their own, and Cog loves to either get isolated matchups or get pressure. He loves things like his Gnar, which is absolutely infamous. Baron pits are like death traps if he's getting on that champion. Add in things like the Renekton. We know he's got bizarre picks like Ivern and Tristana he's pulled out in the past and looked pretty good on, though some of them have had some mixed success, of course. And if you're leaving this rookie guy like I know on the top side by himself in an isolated matchup with pressure, it could really be a win condition for V3 here.
Absolutely. We must very quickly, briefly go over our predictions for this matchup, gentlemen, because it is very important that we do let everybody know where we stand on the desk and the broadcast. And Nymera, you and me are V3 supporters, but then the rest of us, they're heretics. They believe in the normals.
They do, and you know, my heart says AXIZ. I love this team. I love what they've managed to achieve, but when it comes to the cold calculations, it's going to be V3 in my eyes. I put the 3-2. I was edging towards the 3-1 as well. Interesting to see we have the majority on the desk.
Initialize quickly.
I've gone the other way, partly because I just think Honey is so good, and I really think that having a rookie jungler in at this stage in playoffs versus someone like Hoglet, who's been on fire, particularly in the early game, about looking for scraps and skirmishes, could really hurt V3.
Well, gentlemen, that means we're almost at that point in time where we hand it over to our lovely casters of Midnight and Melvin Izzle to explain their predictions, because I mean they agree with you both on AXIZ initialize and where they might be going with this pick and ban phase. So gentlemen, why don't I hand it over to them and let them take it away?
Narwhal rises.
No, I have never been called a heretic in my life.
I didn't
and
think
I'm
I
very
would
happy.
either.
I'm very happy that of all times to get called a heretic, I get called a heretic by saying 3-1 in favor of AXIZ right now. Obviously, welcome everyone to the casters of our very, very fun series here at the semifinals. I'm Midnight, joined by, that's not temporal. Okay, the graphics are lying to you. You've had a hell of a facelift, my guy. So, coming into the semi-final series, of course, we both put down AXIZ coming into this, and I like to think that we are on the same page when it comes to the point of pressure. The desk mentioned it. I feel like we have to reiterate it down here. The bottom lane 2v2 and the champions that are getting looked, because we've looked at the hyper carries, specifically Jinx, Aphelios for the likes of Honey and Hollow, both undefeated on these champions, and let's not forget the Thresh Prince himself, both supports undefeated coming into this semi-final series here. Like, if nothing else, that kind of screams, at least to me, hey, these are picks that are either hitting the ban bench or they're hitting Summoner's Rift one way or the other.
And it's rare that you get two teams that have such overlapping champion pools, such overlapping styles in a lot of the way. When we're looking at some of these teams, one of the things that screams to me about both of these rosters is they're the best teams, specifically AXIZ, at playing around individual members. And the bot lane, Honey in particular, is usually that member getting played around.
And I mean, you looked at his damage stats earlier in the day with X with the thing. It's ridiculous. I think if memory serves, that is the highest, if not like in the top 3 when it comes to actual damage output numbers. If memory serves me right. So it is insane how important the bottom lane is for both of these teams, not just AXIZ. We can talk about AXIZ and Honey's ridiculous numbers, but on the other side, Hollow is arguably just as important.
When we look at some of the champions that they've been playing, I think the Ziggs is one that both of these ADCs have got in the pocket, and as we're jumping into pick and ban now, there's a lot of questions, right? Because we've already listed off 4 champions. We've got about 7 other contested picks that we could go through as it comes up in this draft. But we already see that Aphelios 100% win rate dead. That LeBlanc and Ryze, though, from AXIZ, very different approach. They're saying Ace, in the games we've had so far, in these matchups, it is 2-1 this split in favor of AXIZ. And Megumin has usually had the better end of Ace, which is not really what you would have expected coming into the season.
It's not what you would expect, but hey, that's the way it pans out, and you got to take those kind of victories. As I've just realized there is an infinitely a big disadvantage with being in this best of series starting on this side of V3 is because you have to ban the hyper carries in this situation. You can't, because if you leave one of them open, AXIZ are going to gobble it up, and now you have to decide, well, what is your final ban coming through here? Is it going to be, you know, the likes of the Thresh, which we know is heavily banned? Instead, it's going to go through the Viego gets banned, which I think is still the highest banned champion.
It's that Ziggs.
And the Ziggs, we've been seeing him making the rise, and Honey will say thank you very much.
As you can see in that handy little graphic we got, it is the Thresh is still open. Gnar is the most blind pick top laner for both of these two players. I believe it's 5 games apiece. So makes sense why V3 are looking towards that one early. When you have so much attention you want to put on the bottom lane, blind picking top is always fine because it gives you support counter, which could lead to a lot of power in the lanes. Should make it said now, because the Ziggs is locked in, after Thresh, Leona is the most contested support between the two of them, and Ziggs Leona love that duo because they just hold you still with the range CC, and then Ziggs blows you up. Ash, that's an immobile ADC right there. We can talk about that answer to the Ziggs in a moment, you know, being able to look for the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Doesn't mean that they're not susceptible to getting popped from long range either, though.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised, honestly, that you're going to early rotate something like the Ashe. I mean, there's minimal chance of it being taken away, especially in the first rotation. So you could have even saved it for your last pick if you were, you know, wanting to feel out, hey, what is the bottom lane that AXIZ are bringing to the table? Because you're not entirely sure. The only thing you do know for certain is that is going to be a Renekton there. And Are we getting Ziggs in the middle lane in Mega Min's hands? Are the teams finally willing to put this champion in the flexible, truly offer the flex that it provides?
It looks to be the case, and I think part of the reason behind that Ashe lock-in was saying, alright, the two supports we know that both teams want to lock in are Thresh Leona. Now, if you take the Leona, we get the Thresh, and we can remove your pick potential in the lane. If you take the Thresh, that doesn't work so well with the Ziggs, we get Leona, who is a counter, and V3 actually pulling a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors there, coming out on top. They get the Trundle, who is so strong in the jungle right now, a pick that can really do work against these immobile carries, which Varus and Ziggs both are.
Yeah, very easy to get on top. It's like an Olaf, except actually does decently post 25 minutes out of the Trundle there. So that'll be very fun to see. Obviously, that will be in the hands of Unica as the there it is. The support bands, and I feel like I worry we're gonna get like 4 support bands. We're gonna get like Thresh, Nautilus, everything, but instead Silas actually getting caught up, which is a little bit surprising to me. Honestly, not the champion I would expect to be, put that heavily up on the list, especially this early.
That screams to me that they want to pick that Alistar up in the second rotation. This is one of those matchups that you just cannot allow to exist. If you lock in the Alistar and Silas is open, it's almost enough to validate the pick regardless of the comp after a point, just be able to go basically immune in these fights. We do actually have the Nidalee banned away. Hogler, I was looking through their OPGG and they've been spamming a lot of carries that have individual counters, one of which is the Kindred that I've noticed they've been playing quite a lot, that Trundle does not like interacting with because she could just bunny hop around the pillar over walls, and there's not much they could do about it. So we'll have to see if Hoglet wants to go that way. They have what looks to be an AP mid laner, but it would mean that Megumin would be the sole AP of the team, giving a lot of options over to V3. The last ban of that Galio coming out from AXIZ means that there are still a few ways that V3 could approach this next pick.
Yeah, and the Orianna, I think, is a really smart pick, really safe, really stable. But it does then question, well, what are you waiting for? You could always have the Trundle put down in Reyna's hand in the support role, and then you could still be hiding your jungle. That is still always a possibility that we need to be taking into account. And that's something that AXIZ have got to be worrying about as well. Saying, okay, well, who are we putting where, as they'll grab themselves Hoglet's Lee Sin, something that I'm very excited to see have a lot of early game impact. I really hope that goes to Hoglet, honestly. I want to see him on something aggressive. I want to see him on something that makes those impacts early.
Question is, will they go for that Alistar that they were lining up to pick with those two bans of the Silas and the Galio? Can't imagine what the Orianna would have changed. If anything, it's one of those that you'd want to take away, but actually saying no, remove the safety, we're going to take the Thresh, but now that Alistar is open for V3 if they want to keep the Trundle in the jungle. Part of the reason for that is now you have the Orianna, they need an engage mechanism. They can do it kind of, it's not as consistent. You want somebody who can get in immediately, something like the Rel is potentially still an option. Not great into Thresh though, more and more I list these champions and realise that Nemo could get the better end of it, so it will be, like you were alluding to, that Trundle going into the support role.
Yeah, that's going to go down in Reyna's hands, and another aggressive jungler will be coming out here. This time, the Xin Zhao, which of course has been getting a lot of popularity recently, and I'd love to see a good Xin Zhao can make the first 10 minutes of the game for the enemy jungler a living, walking hell. So I really do hope to see that's kind of the pressure that V3 is going to put forward, because they've got the safety of it to do so, right? Like, the Orianna shouldn't be being pushed in by the likes of the Ziggs, especially not early game. And I would just say, all I want is a fight for double scuttle. Right? That's like the dream right now here, because you can get the double scuttle in. You basically tell the Lee Sin, hey, you're on the clock, and if you try and fight me, I'm going to take this spear and ram it through your chest. So good luck.
I don't think that AXIZ want to take those kind of scuttle crab fights, because I'm looking at them like, yeah, they have the Renekton, they have the Varus, these are good base stats, but your mid laner is Ziggs, who is not going to offer a lot of utility nor damage. Not saying that Orianna does a lot of damage early, but she definitely has the utility, and the auto attacks make her far more consistent against things like this Lee Sin, who will be standing there hitting the crab or jumping onto you, as we will be getting ready to head into game. This is one of those drafts that I'm looking at and thinking both teams kind of got what they wanted. I think that both of them pulled their Uno reverse cards out, and it's kind of a toughie to say which I'm favored for. I keep going back and forth. I think that in the late game, AXIZ should be alright. You do have the double poke of the Ziggs of the Varus. You have the disengage of Thresh Lee Sin. And then you have Inno on this Renekton who needs a bit of attention early against the Gnar, but should be fine overall. So I like what they have going for them. This is not a big draft win either way, though, because V3, they have engage with the Ashe. They have engage with the Trundle. They have the combo with the Ziggs, Gnar, Orianna. They can just detonate a fight immediately and kill every carry on AXIZ before they have any counterplay whatsoever. So this is going to need to be a game where Nemo is on point. If they come into this series slow, Reiner will run away with it.
Yeah, and that'll be a very fun one to see here. And I'm going to with you, honestly. If this had been a Trundle jungle with, as you were saying before, the Alistair support or pretty much anything in that support role that isn't high damage, I would have looked at the V3 lineup and asked, okay, where is your actual mid to late game team fight damage? Because it ain't the Ashe. And it's Orianna's good, but Orianna can't single-handedly carry the fight. But then Xin Zhao came out here, which and Xin Zhao's basically maybe say, okay, I like both compositions. Can I have both? You know, can I be a little bit greedy and say I want both of these team comps to win? Because I really like what both of them are bringing to the table here. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. And obviously, as important as the bottom lane is, because again, we talked about it time and time again, Honey and Hollow are really, really important carries for their teams. And both of them have been given something to run away with. I feel like, especially for those first 5-10 minutes, our junglers are absolutely worthy of the focus now. Because, again, you are playing high-impact junglers that 9 times out of 10, you want, hell, you need to do well in those early games. Get a couple kills, get some pressure, burn some flashes, make the enemy's lives a living hell. And I'm very interested to see how both of them are going to be doing that in this first game of the series.
We know Hoglet does have the mechanics on the Lee Sin, the ability to make those kind of plays, and they have set up with the team, whether it be the Renekton stun or later on the Varus going for those chains of corruption, there is going to be the option to make these plays. Best part for them, they have targets, Orianna and the Ashe, with minimal tools to disrupt until Xin Zhao has got that level 6, until Trundle is next to them with the ability to pillar. In theory, Hoglet should be able to run away with this early game in a favourable matchup, considering Unica, relative rookie coming into this one. Not that many games. The first 3 games they played with this iteration of V3 was their first round of the playoffs. So, playing this Xin Zhao, a lot more of a feast or famine pick, not as much utility later on. We need to keep our eyes locked on Unica versus Hoglet in these first few levels, especially when you look down to the bot lane and see both ADCs rightfully going for the cleanse.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, honestly. You got the double frost lane coming at V3, the Ashe, and the Trundle. And then if you're Hollow, you're thinking to yourself, there's about 5 different ways that AXIZ want to CC me up and try and kill me. So I do really like the fact that both of them have gone for the defensive summoning. But you got to also remember that means any of these early game trades, any of these, level 2 to level 4 all-ins, they're actually a lot more effective because there is no heal to save the support if they are focused by the enemy duo. So that'll be very fun. And speaking of getting focused by the enemy duo, Reyna, he isn't running support, I'm going to hide behind my AD carry Trundle. He's running Battle Trundle. That is Hail of Blades on his Trundle right there. That is I'm going to fight you and beat the crap out of you with my club.
It's a lot of early game damage, especially when you have the Trundle Q. As soon as they hit level 3, they are going to be an absolute menace in this lane. And that's realistically the point where AXIZ will need to play this game very differently in the bot lane, such as having Nemo playing far back and being that support who hides behind the ADC, because you need to give them a consistent lantern angle. If you ever aren't in a safe position to do it, you could just watch Honey get pillared and be forced to flash every single time.
And you can tell that AXIZ is aware of that, right? You saw the moment that Reyna walked up into the bush on their half, immediately backed up, just ignore the minions, hit the Trundle, and level 2 has been hit. The pillar was dropped instantaneously. AXIZ didn't go down, but V3's Battle Trundle is putting a little bit of fear in the eyes of the AXIZ bot lane. And hell, I don't blame them for it.
You have both junglers starting on the bot side and pathing upwards, but it has to be said that Megumin did actually get that first bit of priority and put the ward down on the Raptors, so Unica has been spotted, all the info over to Hoglet. We did see in their previous playoff series that they had a tricksy little path on the Lee Sin that got first blood. And then they had quite a poor time off that, but you know, I was going to try and highlight the good parts of it, so we'll have to see what they actually opt to do, because when you have this card ganks up in the top side, and a mid laner who should be safe here, Megumin, complete information, they know where the jungler is, it's an Orianna, you have Biscuits, you could just play this lane far back now and go passive. All of the ability to play make is on Hoglet. They are looking to go for this topside scuttle, and most interestingly, actually, Unica just saying, alright, I'm not even going to try. You have a Renekton with infinite prio. Inno has pushed this wave in so well. I'm just going to go get bot crab. But it does mean that now Cog is on an island up here.
But there's not a lot of minions here. This is a little worrying to see, but they are committing for it. You know, does get the flash, does get the stun. Hogger follows up there. A couple more hits will do it, and that is first blood coming in for the AXIZ jungler.
And because we saw Unica path to the bot side there, instead of going for the Krugs and forfeiting second Scuttle Crab, now Hoglet is doubly rewarded. They get to steal these Krugs. Cog is going to TP back into this wave, and I'm curious to see what the lane state is to see if we are going to have Inno forced to come back. But so well done. Double flash committed from AXIZ means that now there is a window for V3 to look for, but you could just see that this was always their plan. As soon as that ward came down and they saw Unica leave, it was like, all right, we got to kill this now. We can't just leave them up here. Get Inno some priority. And look at this. The fact that Cog leaves the tower actually means that there is no attempt at a counter kill. That looked jank, but they do manage to get it. And because they were so far away from the turret now, the minions from AXIZ pushed in, and it looks like Cog has managed to just barely set up a freeze.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
well, there's a
indeed.
bit of a problem in bot lane there. Pillar comes out, Nemo is slowed, does get Flay out the hook, does connect onto Boat, and the lane's done. This could actually be massive as Hollow is basically dead. A massive Lantern Hoglet has arrived as the support tries to buy time. Unit tries to go forward, but unfortunately, I don't think this is going to work out for him. He goes down. Honey says thank you very much, and V3 forced to abandon their team as Hoglet. A slow ward jump, feeling it, but his mind and his body are both telling him no.
No way, that play was ridiculous. I'm gonna wait until we get the replay for that one, but looking at what it means now, AXIZ get to push in this wave. Hollow is not allowed to stand there. This is a level 5 Hoglet who is just looking at you, said, alright, you want to come CS? I dare you.
I mean, they could go for a dive here, but it would be very, very risky, so I do like AXIZ's restraint there. There was a jungler lurking in the wings there as well, so very smart not to go. Here's a replay, go for it.
Okay, so we have Unica going for the proactive play, but once again, AXIZ know as soon as they put down that ward, they have time to disengage. Nemo lets the Xin Zhao jump in, most importantly, and because they flash, it hits Hollow, who is then forced to double summoner away. Hoglet actually jumps to the lantern and then takes it from an even further extended one, Honey, with the fancy feet. It's to be expected at this point, dodging away from the wind becomes lightning in the bush. Means that now it goes completely in AXIZ's favor. 2-0 up, 6 minutes in. Almost 1.5k gold lead, and I would say more importantly, Hoglet on the favored matchup is a level up on Unica and can just dictate the pace of the game, which is exactly what AXIZ needed to mitigate the early playmaking potential V3 can have.
Exactly, and we were talking coming into this game how important it's going to be between both these junglers. Both are aggressive early game junglers that want to do well, and AXIZ have not only utilized the fact that, hey, we've got a Lee Sin jungle, let's play with this. It was a Stingray. That's a dangerous blast plant there, mate. You might want to run for it there. Nice pillar disengagement. Never mind, as Hoglet is everywhere. He's left, he's right, and Megumin is the one to pick up the kill with a massive explosion, courtesy of the Mega Inferno Bomber. Shockwave coming through mid with Ace. This is an Ace trying to get revenge, but I'm not sure Ace has the damage output. Megumin gets out scot-free.
Honestly, a chef's kiss kind of play right there from AXIZ. The fact that your mid laner gets the kill participation on top of it, even better. And Nemo is now here to watch because Ace doesn't have the shockwave anymore. If they do overextend to try and kill Megumin, who is regenning up with a refillable, and I believe Biscuits as well, then there is always the option to be collapsed on. They have now left to go back bot lane, which does mean that it will just be a case of collect the CS back and come back mid. Should actually be able to afford Lost Chapter because they got that kill. You see, they had to go for the early tier, as Ziggs is one to do, and this helps them catch up to Ace effectively, where they didn't have to pay that tax of the tier.
Yeah, and that's going to be great for AXIZ here. And what I wanted to try and say before, of course, we did get Hoglet finding himself in literally every place with Summoner's Rift, is we're seeing the difference in the junglers, and it's not just the champion, it's the experience that both of these junglers have in the competitive format here. Cog with 147 matches under the belt and 25 in these sort of scenarios. So, Hoglet's kind of used to this pressure, used to the stress that a best of series with everything on the line. Because remember, whoever loses it's good night. So it's a lot of pressure on the line here. And Hoglet, he seems to be thriving, while his opponent, it doesn't exactly seem to be going too well on the likes of the Xin Zhao so far.
You have a full rotation up to this Rift Herald from V3. We do actually have Honey now making his way over after pushing in the minion wave, but because V3 haven't aggroed it immediately, it means that they're not going to have a person advantage here. We do have Hollow, only level 5, doesn't have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow available, so Megumin's not even in danger standing this far up in the lane against an Ashe. Honey, on the other hand, does have the Chains of Corruption. Big trade top lane.
Yeah, Cog even using the ultimate there up against, doesn't get much more than a little bit of poke damage, which Renekton, with the defensive itemization that he's grabbed early, should be fine. But now, that is the Gnar ultimate unavailable if V3 do want to contest this. And I think V3, they're just going to have to give up this Herald. There's not a lot they can do here against the 5 members that AXIZ are bringing to the table here. And Ace doesn't even get the chance to try and Shockwave steal.
I think part of the fact that Cog's Mega Gnar was timed almost out of sync with when the Herald actually got taken means that at the end of the day, they can't really do anything. You don't want to contest in the river against a ultimated Renekton, an ultimate Varus, when you lack those kind of tools yourself, so they just forfeit. But it does mean that across the map, V3, again, coming out as the losers from that play because Honey had already done their due diligence, they'd shoved in the wave, meaning that the XP was lost for V3, as now another play onto Cog happening.
Yeah, Cog forced the flash once again, but this time, Inno and Hoglet did not have to burn those key summoner spells. So both of them could simply say, okay, we'll back up. We will try again when Ace isn't hanging out in the damn tri-bush, having roamed up. Maybe a bit of a spidey sense that something is happening. And I mean, Cog could try and bait Inno here. He does have his jungler available, but with Mega Gnar timing out, I'm not so sure it's going to pan itself out here.
No setup CC without that Mega Gnar means that in the worst case scenario, Inno could attempt to escape with Flash. In the best world for V3, they may pick up 1 kill, but Unica is backing now. They're not expecting Inno to get caught out by this. And it does mean that once again, the attention has to go back over to the bottom side of the map. Hoglet, because they reset first, has the priority. They're going to be able to clear their camps and then start looking for gank windows, while Unica is still taking those wolves, taking that Gromp. So we need to keep our eyes peeled on the bottom lane and see what Nemo does to try and set this up, because the Chains of Corruption are available. That is a flashless Trundle. They aren't allowed to step that far up in this lane anymore against these two, especially with Hoglet lurking in the wings.
Yeah, but the saving grace here for V3 is that they know Hoglet is on the bottom half of the map for now. So where does he go? Of course, he is sitting on that Rift Herald. He wants to drop that in the next couple of minutes to get that beautiful, beautiful turret plating gold here. But Honey is actually on their own, but it could be bait. Enchanted Crystal comes out, immediate cleanse, and now the counter engage. AXIZ say you're engaged, nah, are engaged. As everyone comes in, what a kick! What a kick! Hollow is forced to flee from it. Inno not going to let him go though, as Honey is forced to flee from his defender there. Inno is staying alive for now, but gets cut down there as members of AXIZ actually need to back up even after cutting down the V380 carry. It comes out relatively even.
Good counterattack from V3 completely and puts that play back in an even state. Does mean that they had to invest 2 teleports though. Megaman had already walked down, so they're actually able to go back mid, shove that out, and then potentially look to go somewhere for a reset. Let's take a look at how it started, because it was just AXIZ splitting up, and this ward that Reiner had chucked down on the way around means that now they're able to force onto Honey, go as soon as they know the other two aren't able to collapse. But you see the CC followed up with a Ziggs ult. It's too much for him. Hoglet gets a nice kick, but the shockwave, so well done, kills most of the HP of 2 of the AXIZ members. Inno then left alone in the backline. Good escape from Megaman means that they won't go negative on the play, but going even isn't exactly what you wanted at this point, especially when you have that Rift Herald in inventory. It's about to run out. Hoglet needs to use it soon, else it will expire. And based on the movement, they really want to use it bot lane. They want to accelerate Honey. Megaman walking down, Inno grabbing the mid lane. So this is just a play saying, we will come down here.
Although no flash has been caught out completely here, just on the wrong side of the rift. He's going to try and fight it out, but I'm not sure there's any escape from 3 members of AXIZ. And The punishment here is AXIZ getting damage onto Inno, while Rift Herald will smash into the bottom lane there. And Honey, I think Honey was just given Soul Gold with the Rift Herald charge as well by his team.
That means that now with the Dragon being taken on the side, this is victory on 2 fronts for AXIZ once again. As we do have in the mid lane, Megamin, because Inno was holding the wave, is able to come back, didn't lose anything. They had already pushed out top lane because of how far ahead this Renekton was in the lane matchup. And it means that now Cog has only just started to collapse those minions into the turret. It looks like they're really trying to get first blood tower here, but...
What a hook coming through, and the full corruption on Reyna does force a fight, but they've gone on top of Honey there. Honey, not able to do much, will get cut down. A beautiful gank here coming through, as that is 2 members dropping. AXIZ played their cards, but didn't realize that V3 had a killer hand waiting in store.
Nicely done from Unica, managing to clean up that play. Both junglers, first mythics of the game with their gore drinkers, means that now, because Inno has been roaming so much, they're actually down in XP and down in CS to Cog, despite having such a winning lane in of itself now. Does mean that they are able to collapse into this top side, and AXIZ don't get that first blood tower bot with the plate still up. So V3 managing to hold on. They need to start accelerating though. Once they get first items, once they hit level 11, this is the best shot this team is going to have at even fights. Other than that, it's going to need to be such clean execution, or Megamin is just going to outstat you from far too far away for you to do anything.
Yeah, let's take a look at the tower platings there. Traded relatively evenly, but obviously look where it came through. Cog, the beneficiary on the side of V3, sitting at the highest value on his team by 500. And look, oh, what a surprise. Honey has the most gold on his team after receiving the most amount of support once again. A tale as old as time. AXIZ putting their resources down into Honey, while V3 getting Cog quite a few significant resources here. And I feel like it's going to be, very much on Cog, as always for V3, to really step up here. Because Hollow and Reyna, it's not that they've been doing poorly, but Hoglet has spent more time on the bottom half of the map than I feel like he's done anywhere else on Summoner's Rift this match.
Including in his own jungle, as you can see, Unica with an XP lead is going to be important if they manage to tag over that level 11 first, as, that was very close to being a collapse onto either of those champions. Not that tanky when you just have a Gore Trinker, or in Inno's case, not even.
Yeah, a bit difficult for that one there, but Inno getting out there. It's a fight over there. It's a J-Ram coming through for both of these teams here, and neither of them really sure what they want to do. It's like, okay, Herald's up, so we kind of want to contest Herald, but we're not really sure what the play is here. AXIZ, though, are committing a lot more for the likes of the J-Ram itself, and saying, look, you can take the Herald, but we're not really sold on contesting it, especially because look at Cog. He's got Mega Gnar. AXIZ have to be so careful if they decide to commit.
This is the difference between the previous Rift Herald fight where Cog did not have the Mega available, it had timed out beforehand. They should be able to secure this pretty cleanly, but they're actually weighing out the clock. Cog is timed out now, and the Herald is not dead. Eye is open, actually. Hoglet could steal this really easily.
Yeah, he's looking for it as well, as they're going to commit down on to Unica. They able to get it. It looks like Unica was able to pick that up. Now they've got to get out of there. But AXIZ is not going to be happy with that one. He kicks Cog right into the hands. The shockwave only lands on one, as Megamin says, thank you very much. Inno slices down the enemy mid lane there. And Hoglet bullying Reyna again. This is the 3rd time we've seen the Blind Monk take on the Troll King. And this time the King does get out courtesy of that ultimate. But AXIZ, they may have been able to secure themselves the Herald, but I feel like they definitely... Sorry, AXIZ weren't securing the Herald, but they definitely came out on top there.
Actually, to get the tower, the whole reason you take the Herald is to secure a turret at very least, or be able to threaten pushing multiple, and AXIZ get on the end. And as you watch this, it's just waiting out Cog's timer. The fact that only Unica was DPSing the Herald, not able to hit the eye again, they do manage to secure it. It's nicely done, but watch this. Hoglet goes in, and it's just trading damage, taking away time, because if you invest damage onto the Herald, you can't fight back. And then Cog, beautiful kick again from Hoglet. Astounding bomb from Megamin. They have Sleeper been getting great Mega Inferno bombs this game. The zoning they have been offering has been exquisite. Managing to blow up that mid lane tower as well has unlocked the map. Means that on this Infernal Rift, they can play multiple lanes at this point with the power that this Renekton can offer when there is always the threat of a Ziggs bomb following.
Yeah, And it's not like the Ziggs damage is insignificant either here, as look at the items that they managed to pick up for themselves so far there. It's the Andrews, which is no surreal surprise. But the fun one for me is not only the sword boots, but the, oh, never mind, hold up a second, as, oh my lord, Hoglet really feeling it there, does get a nice kick, but not a lot of damage comes through, but another bomb separates Reina from the pack, and when you divide the pack, the weakest will fall.
This is kind of what we expected to happen, but not this early into the game. 18 minutes and the poke comp is already beyond online. Honey has got a completed item, but it's not even a fully done Mirror Mana yet. So realistically, it's a half and half item Varus and a full item Ziggs doing insane damage. Because when we were looking in the pick ban, when we were saying what the issue of AXIZ comp was, Mega Min's your only AP. If he's not ahead, your comp will falter. But V3 have not actually done anything to aggress on them because of how much time Hoglet has spent towards bottom lane. You would want that Trundle roaming mid. You'd want those arrows heading mid. But the fact that they've always had to be used defensively, they always have to stay in lane because otherwise there's going to be a Lee Sin flash kicking your ADC again. It means that you haven't been able to counterattack because, yeah, Xin Zhao and Orianna can jump on the Ziggs, but that's only if Megumin's overextending, which they really haven't yet.
Yeah, Megumin's been playing it really safe there. And then the area will say, well, the biggest weakness of Ziggs is he's really easy to gank. And yet, you're not wrong. Ziggs is relatively easy to gank if you're allowed the time to go mid lane. Unfortunately, V3 haven't really had time to worry about any lane other than the bottom lane because Hoglet has spent a solid 90% of his time down there. And the last 10% is up here where we're seeing him now, making sure Kog'Kog has learnt his lesson not to overstay his welcome, which I think Kog'Kog, he got caught the first time by this. He's not getting caught twice.
Ulmi wants and whatnot. We do get Megumin managing to collect on another tower's worth of gold, and when you have this Ziggs in the side lane, if they're allowed to exist there, they are going to collect on the insane gold that these tier 2 towers offer now. They do have Hoglet shadowing them, but watch this, V3 have started the rotation up. AXIZ's bot lane is going to try and slow them down. Megumin will not be safe if they are alone, but that's why Nemo's here, always looking with these lanterns. We said they needed to be on point to keep their bot lane and mid lane safe.
They're going in now. The bomb comes through. Nice damage, and AXIZ are going to continue going for this one. Reina will get cut down. He's trying to buy time as well, but that was good. But just not going to win. What? He got one! He actually got Hoglet out of that one. What a turnaround there by the V3 jungler. Impressive to make a bad situation somewhat recoverable.
Not even, but at least it's something. At this point in the game, when AXIZ have a good 4k gold lead, 3 dragons up, you'll take what you can get. It's still not a win, but it looks like it is going to be a trade of towers, but Megumin, that's a lot more of an expensive tower. Ace can't even collect this one, though. The Orianna is nowhere near as proficient a turret taker as the Ziggs, and it means now I expect AXIZ to either look for that Baron or look to go bot lane and run it back. Because watch this. On this Infernal Rift, Nemo could stand right here and cover everyone. The setup for the bomb, the follow-up from Hoglet and Hollow. They are DPSing on this Ashe, but it's just sad to watch because they can't get in there and help. Maybe they could have turned that into a 2-for-2, but then they would have died themselves. It's the real issue that this Ashe has in the current meta where there's so many good tools that either outrange them in the Ziggs and the Varus, or dive on top of them in the Renekton and Lee Sin and kill you before you get to fight back.
Yeah, and Hollow is having a really rough game here so far. Not only is it just the pick ban where, oh, hold on a second, we might get something interesting. Pillar comes out finally, and Ash Arrow connects, but it lands onto Nemo of all players there, and just flashes out to safety, and AXIZ is safe. No way, they actually turned that around with a flank TP. Ace is forced to go get the hell out of here, taking a lot of damage. Inno can hunt that down as Hoglet gets that beautiful kick. Hollow's now in trouble again. You talked about it. He needs to stay safe in these fights, but Honey just outranges him. Hoglet's diving on top of him there, nearly taking out Honey. Charging that arrow, one shot will do it. Does he get it? No, the flash not making it at there. It's actually overstays his welcome, gets taken out there. The hook comes through, but Kog'Kog on the flank. This could be pretty big if Kog'Kog can get in there. V3 with a little bit of desync, but the shockwave is also available. So a lot of tools V3 have available if they're feeling it. And Inno is actually the one feeling it there because now there is no Mega Nut. Goes in, 4 of them. Inno says, thank you very much. The look goes wide. Shockwave lands on 2, but I feel like that's just a bait for V3. As guess who is alive again from the start of the fight? Reina said, you killed me once, Can you kill me twice, mate? The answer clearly is yes. Yes, they can.
And in that such long, extended fight that really didn't look like it needed to go on as long as it did, somehow AXIZ turn it around after a really uncharacteristic overstep from Honey. I think they were feeling themselves a little bit too much right there, thinking, okay, I can do this. I could go for the flash arrow. I've seen that exact play in another pro league, and it worked, and then they get the Baron and end the game right after. Honey barely going askew of it. Doesn't end up mattering, because if you look at the map, there's an Infernal Soul spawning in 7 seconds. Ace isn't up yet. They are walking off of the fountain now. Does not have Shockwave. And realistically, there is nothing V3 could do to stop this. And we've already seen how relentless Megumin and Honey have been. It doesn't get better.
Well, especially if you're a fan of AXIZ. If you're feeling confident for V3, then you've got to be really worried about how this game has just fallen out of hand so quickly. And again, you could just, if you just wanted to use stats as your ally, you could say, oh, it's Honey's insane numbers in the 2v2 down bot lane that, AXIZ is feeling confident. But honestly, I feel like so much of this game that has played out in AXIZ's favor is on the back, or never mind, as Megumin just getting caught out. You talked about the chances of that happening earlier. It finally happens as Nemo and Hoglet force to flee. Shockwave lands on one. They will fall. And what was looking really, really good, just as I start praising them, AXIZ get caught out, and they could be at risk of even losing the Baron.
You have Hoglet available. Honey is able to poke, but Reiner, I love this positioning, just threatening Honey, saying, you can't come to poke us at Baron, because if you do, I'm putting down a pillar, and you are getting jumped on.
Hoglet's going to steal this.
They're looking for it, but they are on a ward right now.
I can smell it.
What counter-attack can you do? Nobody can stop him getting in the pit.
No, I can smell a steal coming through here as the fight breaks off there. It does connect, commits to it, not able to steal it. Never mind, I smelled wrong as Hoglet does fall there. And AXIZ, a last-ditch attempt to make things work out, not going to work as Honey is going to get taken down. Inno will join him, trying to fight this one around with the Renekton, but they're actually quite low, but Inno just doesn't have the damage or the cooldowns to make it work.
V3 have managed to close up this game in a state that they should never have been allowed to, and it's all because AXIZ got a bit sloppy with their setup walking towards this Baron. After that hilariously extended fight earlier, they stayed on the map, overextended, got the soul, but it backfired. Okay, where's this replay going from? This is
Megumin getting caught.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where Megumin goes around the side, but they just walk into a bush that they have no right to. They should have thrown an ability in there first, at very least. Cog just one-shots them, and because we had Nemo and Hoglet coming around the side, they can't peel for each other. It doesn't really work like that with this dynamic. And you can see that one by one, the members of AXIZ just fall like flies. And it's because of Cog. Again, the most experienced player coming into this playoff game. The steal does not go down. Well done by Unica in that tense situation. But watch this. Honey and Inno just get chased down by that very close stun at the end. And while they do lose one member, I think you'll take the full delayed ace for it, especially because now resets come out. You can see on the map, both teams are in the mid lane contesting. We do have V3 rotating to bot, and they have complete prio to do this.
Yeah, and Inno not really in a position to do much, especially when V3 throw multiple members down on the bottom side. The late arrival is Reyna. Hoglet, I suppose you could look for something there. Chains of Corruption, though, doesn't connect. Lantern does, but Shockwave has destroyed Honey before the fight really begins. The kick, not really ideal. It's actually sends Cog towards the wounded AXIZ marksman.
Inno flank.
But Inno has a flank. This could be McDominus. Is popped early. Who is he going to try and get access to? The backline isn't really there. Not able to do much. Hollow is also late to the fight as AXIZ dive on top. V3, it's a drawn-out fight. It's nice and slow, but Inno still taking a battering, taking moves. Hoglet's in! Hoglet's way too far forward. Hoglet's almost going to get cut down there, but he does get in peace. A beautiful pillar stops the retreat of the Renekton, and AXIZ are once again forced to back away. This poke comp not working out ideally, but never mind. They caught the jungler. That is critical coming in as Hollow is charging forwards there. Will they do the Hollow and Ace? If they can make this work, they'll look brilliant, but they've got to be so careful that they do not die in this situation.
Midnight, the Baron buff's about to end. This was so important for V3 because this was their way back into the game. I never even got a chance to say it because of how extended these fights and the replays were in between. But now that the Baron is gone for V3, they needed to break open the base because Ziggs and Varus could just wave clear if they play safe. And this flank from Inno does get broken apart with the pillar and the fact that Unica gets a nice sidestep there. But look, Hollow's still walking down from mid. This is a 4v5 in AXIZ's favor, so they're never going to lose this. As Hoglet really tries to, going that deep into the enemy team, barely gets out, and Inno managing to return kill with Nemo picking up Cog on the side. And you can see now, this is V3 saying, all right, we got to go all in as soon as Unica is beautifully hooked by Nemo. Already on point with the Thresh in game 1. This is what you want to see with the stopwatch as well, baiting Hollow and Ace forward. They don't end up picking any more kills after that, but it does mean with that Baron completely wasted, there is an Elder in 1 minute and 15 seconds, and the poke comp has prio on the map. There are no TP flank wards available, so it is going to need to be V3 finding a miracle angle, getting mid prio, an Ash Arrow, something like this, because you can't take the straight up fight if Megumin and Honey are landing abilities. That's certainly an approach, but they know he's there.
Yeah, the problem with a flank is you need to not be seen, so instead, V3 have kind of denied access to the minion wave, except they haven't. And now, Cog's Meganar has just activated, which is not ideal if you're on V3 side, because look at the 30 seconds until the Elder is up there. You need to be doing something in Unica. If Unica gets caught out, that will be a disaster for V3. They need to make sure that their jungler is not overstaying their welcome in this mid lane.
The game ends for V3 if Honey or Megumin are alive and this buff goes in their favor, because they will just be able to poke you from massive range and execute you with no counterplay whatsoever. Hollow will just die with nothing they can do about it, even with this very defensive build and a stopwatch. It does mean that looking down on both teams, we do have double stopwatch from Hoglet and Megumin, and then we do have double stopwatch coming out from Unica and Hollow. So keep an eye on these players to see if they can find any good outplay windows. Hoglet is looking at Rhino right now, but this is just a 90-degree flipped Summoner's Rift.
Oh, doesn't land onto Megumin with the intent to crystal eye, but the rest of the team is piling in. Meganar is almost available, but Honey and Inno are split up. AXIZ forced to disengage, but look at Cog. He wants to find an opening there, but the kick is available for Hoglet. Hoglet luring the enemy top laner away. Say, come on, ult me. One man ult me. You won't. As, oh my lord, Ace! Ace wants to go home! Ace wants to go back home, get some items, because he's damn too low to do anything, as the dragon has spawned, but neither team is willing to start it up. I say that Cog instantly starts the objective up, and now, with the numbers advantage, TP coming through, Cog's on a flank, but he's only little not much is going to happen there. Inno has had enough of the flank. Cog is isolated from the rest of the team. If they could actually get him, that would be massive. But once again, they lack the damage and ways to lock him down. And AXIZ have actually been pushed out of position, all because of what Cog's doing.
V3 have played this so well, and it is just on the back of Cog, the veteran with experience in this game right here. They've managed to secure prio on this. There's no Mega Inferno Bomb. This needs to be a straight-up steal, or the game has just fell out of your hands as AXIZ. Your poke hasn't landed. What can they even do here? It needs to be Hoglet getting a miracle play, and I don't think they can.
Well, they're going to have to do something. 3,000 health. Inno says, all right, let's do this. Cog on a flank, but no Meganar anytime soon, which is important. Dragon is resetting. And, oh, no, they caught Unica! Unica's been caught out, kicked, and is going to get taken down. One more hit. No, stopwatch to buy time. As the rest of V3 filter in there, Inno holding the front line. Shockwave lands on 2 as AXIZ continue to back away. Cog almost at Meganar. He gets it. It's going to be massive for them, but not able to connect. But now there he goes, 3-man into the back line as Honey doesn't go down. Unica gets cut down to shreds. Hoglet is alive. Unica is not. V3 are in a disastrous situation.
But Megumin and Honey are both They have to back off here. They can't stay. Honey just has to stick around. Midnight, nobody gets the dragon. They all have to leave.
The gentleman's agreement saying we've all beaten ourselves up way too much. Let's go back to base and we'll do it again in less than a minute's time, lads. Let's back away for now. Gentleman's code.
Okay, so Unica is standing on the front line here as they have to, but Inno is just looking at them with Nemo. They go in for some reason, and they get kicked back out, and they look alive with the stopwatch, but they don't end up surviving at the end of this, getting the smite down. It is the Mega Inferno Bomb that actually kills on the backline, taking Ace out of the fight. And watch Honey right here. They're going to get jumped on once, they're going to get jumped on twice by Unica, and they manage to kill them on the way in with an auto. Managing to barely sway that one back in their favor. Does mean we are in the same spot again. We have got the J-Ram returns as Cog is going to hit Mega again with the ultimate available. GA completed for Unica now. Good lord.
We've seen
Okay.
this.
We've seen this before.
We've seen this before. War never changes, and neither does Summoners Rift. Another fight's going to break out. Unica looking for the front line. Chains of Corruption doesn't get it, but Cold gets 2 in the wall. But they're not priority targets. Hoglet and Inno, as they will back up the poke needs to land. Unica into the back line there. Nice kick once again forces to disengage. The Mega Inferno Bomb breaks the GA as Nemo on that front line with the Thresh is fantastic because the rest of the team is staying safe. Nemo finally goes down, but Unica and everyone else on the side of V3 are alive. Really good job there from V3 to stay alive. I say that. Oh my god, Hoglet, if he can get this, that's massive. But if he doesn't, he's actually going to die. Uses the stopwatch. Megamin does become the victim there. He actually commits to the fight there, but goes down. Overstaying by Hoglet. Overstaying by AXIZ. A disaster for them as they are now the one without a jungler. And Baron has come up. V3 say, screw your Elder. The Baron is what we want.
But the thing is, you can't actually take this as V3 safely. Inno is on their way. They won't have the Dominus, but they will be able to frontline. As long as Megaman and Honey don't die to Cold very but they will.
Yeah, Cold getting ready, diving in there, but there's no damage! There's no damage following up there. Finally, the rest of the team piles through as Megaman does go down. V3, once again, use the bait of the Baron to hold it. And we have another gentleman's agreement. V3, they're too low to do the actual objective.
I feel like I'm getting the weirdest sense of deja vu midnight. We are getting a hell of a game 1. This is game 1 of a potential 5. Nemo is back on the map now. They're going to get some basic vision down and try and scry because Cog is going to have TP up soon. Ace has just come back in to get Prio on the mid lane. And V3 are just bum rushing towards this Elder Dragon. Honey will not be up. Megumin will have TP near the end of it. And it looks like with Hoglet recalling, they're forfeiting the Elder. Which means that V3 can get the Baron as well. This is V3 advantage state to the moon.
Yeah, Megamin and Honey died so late in that team fight that they're not going to be around here. Hoglet even took so long to die that I don't think they're going to get here in time. The Elder is going to be slaughtered. And there is nothing that they could have done if Hoglet were committed to that, though. The early smite, I'm just saying. But with V3 securing it themselves, the Elder Dragon, they have 3 minutes where if AXIZ fight them in a head-on fight, they straight up lose. And with the Baron coming in as well, AXIZ, they're going to have to play the ultimate tower defense game.
Okay, so we have the Mega Inferno Bomb available from Megumin. There is one blue trinket up. They can look for it with a steal if they want to try, but I don't think they are looking to do it. It's not going to come out. Okay, so it's all about the minion waves. Keep an eye on them, because the last time AXIZ were able to stall the Baron by non-stop fighting. You don't get to do that this time, because if you non-stop fight against Elder, you just lose. You will not be able to win these kind of straight-up fights, even if you outplay it. It's going to have to be perfection. You need the poke to land from Megumin and Honey. The last few Chains of Corruption have gone wide. We need to see one hitting onto a priority target. No cleanse available for about 30 seconds or so means that anybody that gets hit, short of Unica, who can just say nope from the long-range damage, needs to be getting chunked out, because otherwise V3 have the confidence to walk it down mid here, rightfully so. Only the cleanse on Honey to stop the Enchanted Crystal Arrow killing a target here.
Yeah, and with 1 minute left on that Elder buff, V3 are no closer though to really breaking the inhibitor line of AXIZ, which for AXIZ is brilliant, because we both know that the moment that Elder times out, and that means there's only 1 minute left of Baron, and we know that AXIZ is more than willing to fight that one there. But V3 are feeling confident. Cog with Meganar nearly available is threatening here. And I think rightly so, AXIZ say we're not even going to play that song and dance here. We're going to back up, defend our inhibitors, because we were once kings. But look at that gold graph, says that they have unfortunately fallen upon hard times.
They can clear this next mid-wave coming in, then the Elder buff will have timed out, and they can start looking for windows again. Has to be said that V3 haven't broken the base yet. They could do it on this minion wave, while they could always threaten a dive, watch for pillar. Anybody that gets pillared off can get followed up by the arrow. Reiner is aggressive.
Yeah, looking for something there as the pillar comes through there. Reiner taking a lot of damage. Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands on one, and it is a priority of Honey, but not even taken down. Hell, Cleanse not even used in that situation, as Unica is taken down low. But finally, the first break in the base. The inhibitor goes down. Reina is low. Shockwave lands on one, but it's only Nemoi. Are you really wanting to commit that much for the support? I don't think so. And V3 the Baron, the Elder, and all that is secured with all of these buffs is a recovery of the gold, as well as the inhibitor falling down.
Cog has been putting in such insane work just with their mere presence. AXIZ were winning this game until Cog started getting involved in these fights, and since then, it's looked like a completely different game. They just haven't been able to get up and go for this kind of poke. They haven't been landing consistent poke. We're talking about how the Ziggs Thresh isn't an ideal bot lane pairing. It can keep the Ziggs safe, but it can't set them up for CC. And it's the same case here. It's only Inno that is point and click CC. If Honey isn't landing Chains of Corruption, you can't reliably hit these abilities on good players who have extra movement speed. Look down the items, full boots. You have the Orianna W to help speed them up. As long as they get to escape after the fact, the V3 don't ever die here.
Yeah, you'd assume so, as the Elder and Baron have now officially worn out. They have done their due diligence, which means that we'll have another fight soon, as Unica potentially getting caught out. But this is just V3 securing early vision, and all of this is being done in preparation for the next dragon. As Cog engaged him on Hoglet. Not the ideal kick. Shockwave doesn't land, courtesy of Hoglet's flash there. But Cog, oh my god, going deep with Hoglet there. But Hoglet's overstayed. He may have a GA though, but he's just trying to buy time, be annoying, get damage down. Will AXIZ come and save their teammate or not? It looks like they're just not going to be able to. Their Hoglet, for all of the games of experience that he has, for all of the playoff matches, the regular matches that this man has played, the pressure, the stress of this first game reaching that 40-minute mark, I think it's starting to get to him.
Cog took him for a ride there in the literal sense of they just leapt away, and it brought Melissa with them, committing to a play that they, well, not only didn't need to, but has backfired greatly for them. But again, look at this, AXIZ. If they do not have a Baron threatening them, they can clear the waves. The issue is, look at this insane vision control on the red buff jungle. There is no way AXIZ can even attempt to sneak up to this dragon. They will be walking through only vision for V3. That means pillar angles, that means arrow angles, that means sneaky shockwaves. It means that AXIZ need to try and get lane priority so they can walk through at a more aggressive angle, but if they do that, and you get snuck up from behind by Cog, well, it's something that we've seen about 5 times over now, and the poke from the Ziggs and the Varus isn't enough to kill him. They're so tanky.
And the issue is, as you mentioned earlier, that yes, the defensive of the Thresh is good, but it's just not setting up the damage that Honey and Megamine are throwing out there. Because look at that, catch out Cog. Well, Cog doesn't care. Because, well, it's Cog and it's a nah. As he goes for another flank, but this time they actually kind of want to go for this one there, but I'm not so sure, as Shockwave once again only landing on Nemo, as the rest of AXIZ are backing away there. Unica is taken down low. Cog is also relatively low, and with one man down, AXIZ have to decide, is Elder worth committing to? Because it might work out there. It's some relatively low, but Hoglet getting caught out could spell disaster as Nar goes through, but not going to connect on any priority targets once again. The poke still coming out, but the poke just is not landing.
That is the flash. That is the Mega Nard down from Cog. This is the best angle AXIZ have had for a while, and they need to go for it.
Going in. They've caught him out. They've caught out this completely. The Shockwave is now not available as the rest of V3 are coming into the fight, but they are solo. They pulled off of the dragon themselves. Unica is taken down low. One more hit would do it. Surely one more arrow is waiting in the wings here. Will it land? No, Honey, not able to get the shot. But V3, they've left the dragon alone. There's nothing they can do in this one. They secured the first, weren't able to win. Now AXIZ will grab themselves the Elder Dragon. Hell, they can look for the Baron. It's deja vu again.
But look at the map, Midnight. There are minions pushing in on both side lanes. Cog does have teleport. It looks like V3 are going to try and trade objectives because they know that if AXIZ runs straight to it, they run through that mid lane vision, then V3 get to teleport in behind and force a base, and then it goes all over the shop because you know you can't handle Cog in a side lane with one person at this point. So it looks like they have took the trade for this Baron, and AXIZ just can't respond quick enough. Inno is pushing out the bot wave to avoid something like that happening. He's immediately TPing in now, but it's too late.
Hoglet's definitely going to try. Mega Inferno Bomb comes through, not able to steal it there, but they are relatively low with the Inferno Dragon. One more getting out there. Holo has to stay alive, but he gets cut down, courtesy of the Elder. They weren't able to secure it fast enough. V3 will lose 2 members Ace, Reina, and Cogcog, the only survivors. They may have Baron, but when your enemies have Elder, is it really worth trying to make that song and dance work?
And Cogcog once again holding on for his team. Everybody is just grabbing onto Cogcog as he's the only one holding onto the cliff that AXIZ are trying to step on their hands to push him off. But he will not let go on this now. Still have stopwatch in inventory. They are doing everything they can. We need to keep our eyes on this now because they are the only thing that can save you at this point. You need some kind of flank play. And you actually saw it about 4 or 5 fights ago, where Reina sets up the pillar as Cogcog goes for the ult, and that's the combo they're trying to get off. In the base, there's no walls, so they need that combo to land, or it will not work, and AXIZ just end the game here.
Yeah, well, at least AXIZ won't end the game just yet, though. V3 will survive a little bit longer. Elder buff is only going to last another 50 or so seconds, and AXIZ, I think they're going to be happy with what they got. An inhibitor was secured here. They bought more time, which I think is really, really important for this team, and setting up an ambush. I like the idea, but the execution has to be perfect. They have to find someone, but doesn't look like it. And yeah, AXIZ will just be forced to back away. Going to be happy, though, with what they have secured themselves here. Basically evening out the game state. 76 to 77,000 gold at this late into the game. That means nothing.
Or Blitzcrank bot. He's confused. You can see they have no idea what's going on at this point. They're just looking at these numbers like, I don't compute this very often, my friends. I'm doing all I can to run these numbers, but that is a Rabadon's in Megumin's inventory. That is 800 ability power on a Ziggs. I'm pretty sure if they land a single Mega Inferno Bomb and Ace can't stopwatch it, they die. Like, it is going to be that close now. So, coming into, I say the next fight, but realistically, it's just another song and a dance right now. This is going to be both teams just buying time for the next double objective spawns. Because V3, with only 30 seconds left on the Baron, they can't even imagine to try and take base. If anything, this is the first time AXIZ have got to come out on the map now because of this mid-inhib they took. And that's actually an opportunity for Cogcog to look for flanks. Because when AXIZ walk up, they will not have vision behind them. There's only so much Nemo can do with full inventories on the team. You can't get a lot of vision down. So it's going to need to be very smart play from AXIZ to not put themselves in a position where they could get flanked. Going to bring attention to all those wards that are behind them right now. Because if they do, and this Mega Gnar comes in, the game can just end in an instant. It doesn't look good, no.
Well, so far Cogcog is electing to try and take the head-on approach, has been spotted out here, and V3, it's the poke game, right? It's the game that we see every time we see a poke composition brought to the front here. Ziggs and the Varus, Honey and Megumin, need to just land as much poke as humanly possible here, because they've got the wave clear. As Cogcog, though, he could definitely look, now is the time if they're going to go here, but it looks like there will be a disengage. Hoglet on the flank saying, come on, come this way, see what you want to do. Do you really want to play this game with me, buddy? Cogcog, he's feeling it, but he just doesn't know what he wants to do, man. He looks lost over there, and V3 look very lost here. They don't want to take the fight, but they don't really have many choices, because if this continues, it's not going to go in their favor. Because look what is spawning for the 3rd time this game.
Goodness.
The Elder Dragon. I don't think I've ever casted a game with 3 Elder Dragons. I'll be honest. I don't think it's happened. And now it's happening in the first game of the best of series.
He two-shot the turret midnight. Then it died. This is the state of the game we're in.
Oh, catch the fight there. Cogcog's been caught. This could be chance of corruptions. Hollow is staying safe. The backline is a little bit spread out, though. Inno is the target, but Cogcog is still not making a Honey, and Megumin are left untouched. Hollow with the world's biggest shield, sure, but that's not going to substitute your missing health, mate. As Unina takes a ton of damage, and V3 fail to get the fight there. Hoglet with his blue suede shoes on, and another bit of the V3 base crumbles to dust now. AXIZ, 2 inhibitors secured. They are in such a strong position to do well. But V3, it's not like V3 rolling over, man. All they need is one fight. One enchanted arrow, one engage from Cogcog is all that V3 need to grab this game back in their hands.
And like, nobody died in that last exchange.
The turret died.
The biggest things that were lost were the shield abilities from V3, which isn't insignificant. The double Sterix being down, plus the shield bow does mean that if a fight starts quite quickly, which I imagine will be the case with that Elder up in 13 seconds,
Yep.
and these are very, very squishy targets, but still got the GA available for 3 members of V3. So this poke needs to land, and then it needs to kill. You can't do it in just one step. Hollow, looking with the arrow, keep your eye out. This is the best way that V3 can get the actual initiate, because Cog has got everybody sitting on them, trying to keep them away from these carries now.
Yeah, and he's almost Mega Gnar as well, as Dragon is taking down 8,000, 7,000 real quick burning down here, as they're going to have to look for a quick in and out. The poke isn't going there. Cog gets an early transformation, but they will commit to the Dragon. Who will get it here? It's super important. It will be secured by Unikina, and now V3 get a beautiful Gnar, but will it be enough for the follow through? Shockwave runs on 3! That could be the opening there for Ace there. Does he facilitate his team? 1 and 2 for the Hollow. What an opening from V3. Get themselves the Dragon. Get themselves a couple kills there. Cog still on the hunt. Has to be careful, though. With that Elder, you are strong, but you are far from invincible as the GA pops. You're going forward there, but he's almost taken down. 1 hit. Damn! That's a lot of damage, honey. And they will disengage. 2 members from AXIZ are sleeping with the fishes. V3 only losing 1, but it's their jungler that they lost.
Look at the map. There's 3 pushing waves for AXIZ. They don't care about this Baron.
Wait, why are you on Baron? You don't have a jungler.
If they leave, they lose it. But now Inno could just walk down mid. Hoglet could threaten with Honey. And as long as they could stop the bases, then the minions will end the game. It looks like Inno's coming over. They're going to commit to the fight, actually.
AXIZ took too long to commit to the contest, and now they don't get anything out of that. That's just... This 15 minutes
Back
on the
and
clock,
forth.
I mean...
They didn't get, you're right, they didn't get anything. The top lane minions chunked out the turret a bit, but let's see how that actually started for the umpteenth time this game. As we do see, I thought Hoglet was completely dead here, because they go in for the steal on the objective while the rest of the team is trying to keep Cog away. They managed to get in, but the smite once again goes Unica's favor. They are executed by the Soul Ace with this perfect shockwave. But the thing is, look, and everybody just ignored Hoglet, so they actually ended up kicking people over, and yeah, Hollow got in the fight after, but Hoglet is alive. They're allowed to exist on the backline and just say that you're not allowed to retreat anymore as V3, because if you go for recalls, Hoglet can interrupt them, and Honey does an incomprehensible amount of damage at this point in the game. 500 AD, not AP, AD on the Varus at this moment, who is going to chunk out with those Qs, even onto the 1, 2, 3 armor items Zinzar that they just hit for about 1/8 of their health. It's not bad. The Baron was secured, so V3 have that, but they are fighting with Elder Baron, and somehow it looks like they're not even favored at this current moment.
Yeah, it's not that they look nervous here, but that's all because they need Cog. They need this Gnar to find access to the backline. Then they could be finding Honey and Hoglet there. Hoglet a little bit caught out, but will be able to make it back with the rest of their team for the most part. And if you can't flank, you're in a bad position. Cog getting caught out there. Flash into the backline. They're caught out. You can get. There's no jungler. They've trading junglers now. As diving into the backline there. Nemoy looking for something. Honey trying to get the poke down, but not able to find it. So far, just a 1-for-1 trade. But Ace is lurking. Ace is waiting on the flank there. Shockwave lands on 2. Mega Man is the big pick there, but they're not able to commit onto the fight there. V3 backing away, not feeling confident. AXIZ just as nervous. It feels like both these teams, they're so afraid to put their whole foot in the water to get in the damn pool at this point. Just jump. Because both of these teams are so afraid of what might happen. They're so afraid to lose a fight that they're not committing to them.
51 minutes, 28 seconds on the clock. Game 1. V3 are heading towards 100,000 gold in this game. And it's still not even decided. Both of these teams have such insane damage in the pocket. We saw Ace landed an ultimate W, and Megumin was on basically an auto attack's worth of HP. Yeah, it was nothing at that point in time, especially for a Ziggs. So we need to see how these teams can actually get anything done, because I remind you, for the 4th time this game, we are waiting for the Elder Dragon to spawn. Because now, both of these teams don't want to go in and do anything. They just want to stay as far back as humanly possible, because all AXIZ can do is look for poke. But now, because of all the itemization, if the poke doesn't hit Ace or Hollow, it doesn't stick. It doesn't do anything. And now it is just a matter of V3 looking for Cog again on the backline. He is running where towers were for AXIZ, as they have given up mid priority here. I mean, the Dragon's up for a minute 30. This isn't good. If V3 can hit towers, they do kill towers. Inhib is up for everybody now. Oh my lord, I'm gonna take a drink, Midnight.
I don't blame you on this one, mate. This has been a stressful game, and what you've got to remember is that, again, the loser of this match, no, sorry, the loser of this series, I should say, rather, is going home. So the stress to do well is there, but Unica is going forwards onto Hoglet backing away. Because if you don't want to be the player that makes the play that loses your team the game. You don't want to do that in the best of series there. That is going to stay with you for the rest of the night. And so you reach this point where both teams, they're so afraid to fight. They are so afraid that, okay, we should be able to do this, but what if we mess up? We should be able to hold this position. We should be able to do this objective, but what if we mess up? And that question is going to be eating at you for the rest of this game. Hell, it's probably been eating at these players for the past 10 minutes. And that, especially in players that haven't got a lot of stage experience, hell, haven't got a lot of playoff experience in these very high stress environments, it could cripple you. It could make you so afraid to press your buttons that you just don't. So let's hope that doesn't hit the players too hard.
It should be a game state V3 win. They have the experience advantage across the board as they're looking for it, but he's not Mega yet.
They're not able to get the backline though. The beautiful kick there as the rest of AXIZ coming through. Honey and Megamin are spread up, but I think that's actually working out for them as the bomb lands. Hollow and Ace are solo there as Honey says, okay, let's see what I can do on the side of this fight there with my arrows. You're dives in there. Rain is trying to help out, but it doesn't matter because look at Hoglet! Look at Hoglet on the backline! He is basically saying, you two are carries, I'm the goddamn carry here! And the rest of his team comes in for reinforcements. Honey cuts them down, and now the TP in, Megamin and Inno are going for the end of this game. Cog has to play defense. Hella TP coming in from Ace will likely get back in time, but they are going for the end here, Melbourne. They've got to be. The inhibitors are up. Inno is feeling confident that the turrets don't last long against the likes of a Ziggs. But with Cog almost at Mega, it might be able to hold off as the fight never ends here. Melvin Izzle, they will take the inhibitor after the double TP. The Chains of Corruption does not connect by Honey, but they are not done. They think they can do this, and with a Ziggs, I don't blame them for that fact. What the hell is a Ziggs? That's illegal. That can't be happening on my screen as the Nexus goes down in an instant. Their Ace gets cut down. AXIZ turn this game around. The first game in the best of series, and what a barn burner of a 55-minute match.
The game ends with 54 kills at 55 minutes. What a monumental performance for AXIZ to come out and win this with the experience disadvantage across the board. The most experienced player in playoffs for AXIZ is Hoglet. He has 11 games. The least experienced player for V3 is Unica. He has 11 games. In playoffs, AXIZ did not have any right to win this game just from the pressure gauge that was coming down, but they managed to do it after, I believe that was 3, with the 4th Elder spawned on the map. Something like 6 Barons. That one I wasn't even trying to keep track of. That was ridiculous. That was just a ridiculous game. There's no way we can get that 5 times in a row.
I mean, you say that. It could happen. Don't jinx us just yet, mate. But there was some spectacular plays. But again, I really want to sort of look at, there's so much of the game to look at. There's so much that we could look at, Melvin Izzle. But that's not our job. That is going to be over to the analysts, guys. So do not go anywhere. We're going for a quick, short 2-minute break. And when we come back, the desk will take you through game number 1 in this best of 5 series. And if game 1 is anything to go by, this series is going to be a banger.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the desk. Mars Swan, Initialize in the center, Nightmare on the other side. Gentlemen, we just witnessed the longest match in the round number 2. We just witnessed the longest match in any playoffs match series internationally. 55 minutes and 15 seconds was the final game time. Initialize. What did we just witness? Because that just was a tale of multiple outcomes and wins and everything else.
It was a game of inches on both sides. Like Ace and Cog with some insane late game team fights, getting them back into the game even. Hollow as well, free firing the best they could on the Ash. On the other side, you had late game Ziggs, Varus with Infernal Soul, and it was like people dying and then backing off, and they couldn't quite end the game as a result. And bad reset or like slightly awkward reset times mean buffs were traded, and it left this incredibly tense late game where both sides were inches away from loss or victory at any given moment.
It was truly monumental, and this was such a great early game from AXIZ, wasn't it? Initialized, like they just kept going again and again and again, and for the first 20 minutes, I was like, "Well, this looks like a done deal, really."
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Hoglet manages to get first blood up topside, diving the Gnar after a really solid wave state set up by Eno, in fairness. And then
that first
ends
one
up down in the bot lane, and they get another couple kills down there. They're 3-0 up. Hoglet's got everywhere. Unica's a little bit behind the play. Looks fantastic. It doesn't last.
It really doesn't, and that's where I want to come over to you, Nymera, because why does it not last?
Because it gets to a point where effectively it becomes very apparent neither backline is in threat unless some godlike play comes through. There is no Leona. There is no... Trying to think of another really good engaged champion. Alistair, great play from a gang, something like that, right? You are looking at the people getting into the backline, having to get through another front line, and there is no threat towards the back of it, unless, even if you land a Mega Inferno bomb or something like that, that takes off 2/3 of the HP. It doesn't kill the target. And you get to the point where...
It's also not CC.
It's also not CC, exactly. And then you get to the point where suddenly, of course, the AXIZ get themselves Infernal Soul. How the hell are you meant to push into the Infernal Soul of Varus 6? Because remember that the Infernal Soul doesn't just apply to champions, it applies to any target you hit. That includes minions. If you have the arrow and have the bombs going through the minion wave, it deletes, it disappears. At that point, you can have 3 waves of super minions for all I care. They're going to melt. There is no way you end the game if AXIZ don't want to play with you. And that's exactly what happened. They stalled out the game. There.
And that was something that we were witnessing in the green room, because as we were watching this, V3 got everything on the map at one point. They had multiple members with blue, red buff, Baron, Elder, pushing in. And Initialize, all they get is the inhibitor.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is off the back of the likes of Cog finding this incredible turnaround, sort of like early 20s minutes into the game. I forget the time because it's gone so damn long. I've lost all my notes at this
Doesn't
point.
matter now.
and he finds way in the bush, gets on top of Mega Man. It's the only death he has that game. It's fantastic. They got onto Nemo's 2 dead. They can get the Baron. This is the turnaround. You think it's going to be super easy. Can't shove in. They get an inhibitor, but it costs them so much. And this feels like the thing is, I could point to nearly any moment of the game where it's like where this kind of shove in happens, because yes, you get this, but it normally costs you Shockwave, Enchanted Crystalline Arrow, possibly a Subjugate. Unica goes in and has to use the Crescent Guard to get out, has his Sterex pop as well, and is now very low, and that's how he survives the rest of the pokes, because he's got this kind of temporary front line on. But the costs are so high, you've got to wait for those cooldowns to come back up, at which point, well, you got an inhibitor, they shove out, and they can try again next time for AXIZ, and this was never more true than around the big objectives.
No, it wasn't, and I'd like to come back to you, Nymera, because you set up a point earlier about how the backlines on both sides couldn't be, well, accessed easily. We saw multiple ball carries come from Unica, but with Cog trying to do this combo CC. We even saw them try and do the pillar with the Mega Gnar. They tried to do the throw. It didn't work. I want to come to you, Nymera, specifically. why were AXIZ able to clean this out? Because this was something you and me were talking about, because we thought, well, realistically, I think I'm paraphrasing, I'm quoting you here, there should be no way for AXIZ to lose this game.
There basically was no way that their backline was going to die. I started questioning that when Ace managed to get a flash shockwave around the second
I think
Elder
everyone
fight.
was. I think everyone
Second,
was.
yeah, the second Elder fight with the flash shockwaves, thinking, oh heck, that's really bad now. But even then, at that point, AXIZ actually have GAs at that point. Even Hogla managed to get out of that fight. And I think the reason that it eventually came down in AXIZ's favor is that effectively you look at the Lee Sin, you get towards the very late stages of the game when you have large amounts of CDR, because of course Gore Drinker has that mythic stack, gives you extra cooldown through ability haste. You have mobility advantage, and that's a term which I've used a lot this season because it does become quite apparent in some of these fights where Hoglet can get the extra safeguard off, can get the extra safeguard off, whereas Unica can't get the extra audacious charge, can't of course choose to have a free targeted dash, it's just onto an enemy target as well. And I think that eventually got to the point where it's all well and good that Orianna has all the damage in the world. You can only do it within about 1,000 range of yourself, whereas you look at Megaman and Honey, they get to do it a lot more at that point. And Hoglet is pinning someone in place at the same time. It's a close game either way. It goes right the way, it goes right the distance. And I'm feeling pretty good about my 3-2 prediction from this game, I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely. Movement was the Season 11 special. Multiple items coming in. And multiple item reworks have already come through. Movement is being changed in League, and probably slightly rightly so, because the first part of this season was, well, it was very unique, diverse. Maybe not diverse. Maybe just do one thing and you'll win games, ladies and gentlemen. We all know what we had to experience with, what was it called? Uria, and he was just running around barefoot.
Yeah.
Everyone. There we go. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna cut over to a short break after that 55-minute and 15-second fiesta. But when we return, we're going to have a gentleman's discussion on what we're expecting for game number 2. Don't go anywhere.